What's going on, boys and girls? Thank you so much for coming back and watching another video by yours truly. Today, we are going to be getting into this whole Mike Vrabel to the Raiders, Tom Brady already mapping out the Grand Master Plan report. There's reports saying that he's definitely coming. There's reports saying that AP has 50-50 chance of staying. We're going to get into all that right off the rip. But before we do all that, I need to tell you a couple things. Number one, hit that like button. It really does help. I know it's annoying to ask for it, but it does help. Make sure you're commenting away your thoughts and hit that subscribe button if you're new. It does help the channel out immensely. We're trying to get to 11,000. Also, comment below questions you have. Any questions at all? I'm going to start doing a question series, sort of a mailbag, and I'm going to go through comments and I'm going to take out specific questions that I want to answer. Now, this could be Raider specific. This could be specific to the video. This could be specific to anything you want, not Raiders involved. It could be about my life, starting a YouTube channel. It could be about you. Any questions you have, advice you want, hit me in the comments. So we're going to start doing some mailbags and seeing how they work. But for right now, we're going to get into the Mike Vrabel of it all because we have two different Raider Beat articles that both came out, I believe, today being November 18th. And it's about Mike Vrabel. And yes, look, it's unfortunate that we are barely halfway through the season and we are discussing a potential new head coaching prospect. And there's a lot of things I want to say. The first thing I want to say is this. I'm not here to tell you the validity of this report. If it's completely made up, okay, whatever. I'm going to use this as a vessel to discuss Mike Vrabel in particular. So we're going to read what the reports have to say. We're not going to say, oh, this is ridiculous, or it's 100% accurate. We're just going to take it at face value, a rumor, and we're going to discuss said rumor. And before I get into this specifically, I just want to make this very clear. I am not 100% sold on firing Antonio Pierce. I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to read the article, and then I will extend on my take about Antonio Pierce as we jump into the article right here, RaidersBeat.com. Mike Vrabel, the, quote, front runner to be Raiders' next head coach. The article starts by saying it has been a disappointing first year for Antonio Pierce as the head coach of the Raiders, and there is a discussion about whether he will be able to hold on to the job if the season doesn't turn around, which is interesting because a lot of people don't want the season to turn around. They want to be in that top echelon of the draft. With Tom Brady now in the mix in Las Vegas, the expectation is that the team's new minority owner will have a heavy involvement in the football side of the organization. In my opinion, that is a very good thing. That could mean that Brady will want a head coach of his choosing in the building, and a Pro Football Post report on Monday indicated there is a good chance that will happen. And here's where we get into the Vrabel of it all. And I quote, Pierce's job is not safe. No, we're not breaking the news there. And there is a growing expectation in lead circles that Mike Vrabel, who was, I believe, an assistant for the Browns or something, is going to be the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Brady was involved in the process that led to the hiring of Pierce, but sources have indicated that Pierce was not Brady's top choice. Should the team move on from Pierce, which is a big should, expect the Raiders to follow the Rooney Rule procedures during the NFL's hiring process. Current defense coordinator Patrick Graham, who was on New England from 2009 to 2015, has a relationship with Brady, is highly respected at every level of the organization. Graham was a candidate for head coaching job last year and his inclusion in the interview process around this time wouldn't be a formality to satisfy the Rooney Rule obligation. Still, Vrabel is considered the front runner for the job, according to several sources who spoke to Pro Football Focus on condition of anonymity. It's only the third week of November, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Is there anything we need? As for Pierce, his biggest regret on the season has to be the decision to hire offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, although that's not really what he wanted to do. We all know it was supposed to be Cliff Kingsbury. Okay. So, let's read this. On Sunday, the office showed improvement under newly promoted offensive coordinator Scott Turner, and that dynamic only emphasized how bad the offense had been under Getsy. It's too late to salvage the season now, but if their offense can find some life in the weeks ahead, maybe Pierce will be able to make the case for another year as head coach. Okay. So before we get into the report that kind of counteracts whether or not Pierce's job is safe, and that's Deshaun Reed and Vic Tafur, here's what I want to say about Mike Vrabel in particular. And I'm going to use Derek Carr as an example. Derek Carr was a very good quarterback for us for a decade, right? Wasn't great. He was great for a little bit. Wasn't bad. He was bad for a little bit. But for most of the time, he was solid. We had chances where we drafted high in the draft with him on the roster, and we decided to stick with Derek Carr because he was the safe, good choice, and we were loyal to Derek Carr, right? Why do I bring this up in terms of Antonio Pierce versus Mike Vrabel? Is Antonio Pierce right now the right guy for the job? I don't know. I do think he's dealt with a lot. He's come out and said, like, I want to get a quarterback. I want Cliff Kingsbury. And we tried to do those things, and for whatever reason, it didn't shake out that way. No excuses. A lot of injuries happen. He hasn't been great, but I don't think it's all on him, right? If there is and the reason I bring up the Derek Harville is this. If there is an option that is better than Antonio Pierce, we have to do our due diligence to interview that guy at the very least and make sure that we have the best head coach possible to lead whoever we draft into the future. And if you think Mike Vrabel is a better head coaching candidate than Antonio Pierce, you have to make the change. And I'm going to come out with a video very soon here ranking my potential head coaching candidates to take over and where Antonio Pierce falls in that order, some above him, some below him. But if you have guys that you think are better than AP, you got to make the change. If you're just going to make the change, and you don't think this guy could be as good as Antonio Pierce, keep Antonio, give him another season. Either way, we're drafting a quarterback. But Mike Vrabel, in my opinion, has shown to be a very good coach to elevate a roster that maybe shouldn't have played as well as it has to multiple AFC championship appearances. I think at least one. And they were beating Kansas City in that game, up double digits. He's made the playoffs 3 times with Ryan Tannehill, a high floor quarterback, which is a certain Shedeur Sanders attribute. He's got a high floor. We don't know if he's going to max out his ceiling, but he can come in right away and produce. And Mike Vrabel, if anything, is the opposite of the reports we've heard about dysfunction and whacked out crazy schedules and wasting time and not holding players accountable. That is a way to counteract all of the criticism that has been heaped on Antonio Pierce and this coaching staff this season so far. And also, the offensive coordinator that he brings in will be very important if we do end up going the Vrabel route. I have discussed Wes Welker in the past. I think that is somebody that Mike Vrabel would bring in because I believe they played together with Brady. Wes Welker is the pass game coordinator for the Miami Dolphins. I think that's a very good hire. Let's get into this next report that shares how strongly Antonio Pierce feels or how they feel about Antonio Pierce keeping the job, the gift percentages. But before we do that, real quickly, about 52% of you over this past month are not yet subscribed to the channel, but yet you keep coming back. Why are we not hitting that subscribe button? Why aren't we doing it? We're so close to 11,000. Let's get there. And if you are subscribed to me, about 14% of you have all notifications turned on for this channel, which is that bell that you hit. And only 8.5% of you have subscribed and turned on all notifications for this channel and have YouTube notifications enabled on your phone. You make sure you go into those settings and do these things properly, so every time I upload a video, it gets sent to you immediately like a text message. And the reason why I'm pushing you to do that is because if you watch the video early, the more people that watch it, when it's uploaded, it gets pushed to more people, which is why that is so important for YouTubers, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, hit that subscribe button. Also, link in the description below, or you can go into your browser and type in patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. If you don't know what this is, it is basically like a YouTube membership program, but instead of YouTube taking out 40% of what you would give me, Patreon only takes out a flat fee of 5%. For $5 a month, you get videos you get videos early. You get exclusive videos like my complete Shedeur Sanders breakdown that isn't on YouTube and will never be on YouTube. You get your name at the end of the credits because you become an executive producer, and you get constant updates. For $10 a month, you get all those benefits, including every video I post ad-free and a monthly advice YouTube channel video program that I will be uploading frequently. Patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders if you want to find a way to support the channel a little bit further, but get stuff. It's not just donations. You're giving, and you are getting in return. Link in the description below for that. Let's now get into the insider report on if Antonio Pierce is going to keep his job. Again, Raiders beat November 18th. Insiders shared their odds on Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce keeping his job. And they start by saying, is Antonio Pierce down to his final days as the head coach of the Raiders? God, that would just be so unfortunate. A report on Tuesday suggested that Raiders minority owner Tom Brady might be looking to replace Pierce with Mike Vrabel. And we talked about this, blah, blah, blah. But in order for Vrabel to get the job, Pierce has to be fired, and the first-year head coach still has time to prove himself to the organization. And I just made a whole breakdown about if the offense turns around, is that enough? There are 7 games left in the season, and it doesn't appear that the players have quit on Pierce. I agree with that. The roster has been decimated by injuries. That's just a fact. But the team still showed signs of life this week in Miami. I do think they looked a little bit better. Vic Tafur and Deshaun Reed covered the Raiders for The Athletic, and they talked about Pierce's chances of keeping his job after Sunday's loss to the Dolphins. I thought Pierce could definitely come back with 5 wins, Tafur said this week on his podcast. The defensive injury excuse is valid, and not getting a quarterback, that's what we said Pierce needed all offseason, Tafur continued. He had to have a non-stopgap guy. That didn't happen for him. So I just think Gardner has had more issues than probably envisioned, and the whole Devontae Adams thing blew up in his face. I didn't say in his face, I added that. So I think there's definitely excuses there, but I do think 5 wins is a number that I was looking at. Okay, he's back for sure with 5 wins. And then Reed offered his opinion next and called Pierce's chance of keeping a job essentially a coin flip. He said, I think it's 50%. Reed said of his odds of Pierce getting the job. I think Mark Davis wants to keep him for another year. I do think for all those excuses that we listed, I don't know. I don't really know what you expect this team to do. Even if they had better coaching, I think this is a bad team still. So, yeah, I think he gets a year or 2. So, all that to say, it's all well and good to consider the next future head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, but it's up to Tom Brady and Mark Davis and Tom Telesco to pull the trigger before we look for these new guys. And you read right there, Vic Tafur said 5 wins, he's back, and Deshaun Reed said it's a coin flip. I do think how we look in these games defines Antonio Pierce's next year with the Raiders. You cannot blame him for Gardner Minshew completely regressing because, again, they wanted to hire Cliff Kingsbury, and it was a contractual dispute. It wasn't on Antonio Pierce to figure out the finagling of the contract. He wanted to trade up for Jaden Daniels. And because he coached the team so well last year, we weren't in position to draft him. And that's what happens, okay? When you win games you're not supposed to. And he tried to make the change to Aiden O'Connell, and Aiden O'Connell got hurt immediately, and Gardner came back in and continues to stink up the joint. So maybe, I don't know if Aiden can come back this week against Denver, but next week against Kansas City, Aiden comes back, they show a little bit, they win a game they're not supposed to, right? They're competitive against the Chiefs in Kansas City. The reason why he won the job in the first place last year, because of that win in Kansas City with Aiden O'Connell under center. And Telesco and Brady and Davis come together and they go, you know what, let's give this guy another shot because the players like to play for him. Let's get him the right coordinators in the building, whether that is Scott and Norv Turner, whether that's a Wes Welker. Maybe if Mike Vrabel comes and coaches the defense. I don't know. Only time will tell. But the only thing we do know for sure is that there's going to be new quarterbacks on the roster next year, rookies and veterans. And they need to be guys that give this team the best chance to win. And I get it. And I've been hypercritical of Antonio Pierce as well. But when you take a step back, you look at the draft class that Tom Telesco and him took this first year, it's been excellent. There's no doubt about it. It's been absolutely smashes. Those first 3 picks have been perfect. You need to give this guy maybe one more year with a proper rookie quarterback or a proper veteran who can win some football games. And if it doesn't work halfway through, you pull the plug and you go get your guy after that. Because I've seen people saying we should have went after Jim Harbaugh. There's no way Jim Harbaugh's taking the Raider job ahead of a job with Justin Herbert. And as much as I would love to get Ben Johnson, and I would let Antonio Pierce go for Ben Johnson, it's a two-way street, right? The ball would be in Ben Johnson's court. Does Ben Johnson want to coach the Raiders? Are you willing to risk letting Antonio Pierce go, a potential good coach for this team, who players continuously vouch for and want to play for a 30% chance of signing Ben Johnson? Look, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. He's a risk taker. Mark Davis doesn't always make the best decisions, but he does take big swings with the coaches. And one of these times in his lifetime, it will hit. Is it going to hit eventually with Antonio Pierce, or will it be Vrabel or Ben Johnson or some other guys that I want to list moving forward? Only time will tell. What say you? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you're looking in the description for the Discord. Discord is... My brain just buffered. It's a Discord for the subscribers of the channel. Anyone that wants to join there, we just talk Raiders all the time, and we have a bunch of shenanigans going on in there. It's completely free. Just go ahead and join. Make sure you join in that Patreon, patreon.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. I already outlined all the tiers you get in the middle of the video, and please be sure to subscribe. It is free after all, no charge to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.